I guess we'll start. Well, I'm Joseph. I'm here to interview you about your job and how you communicate with other people.
Great.
All right. What was your name?
Starter. Hi, my name is Shari and I work for Deutsche Bank. I'm head of their employee benefit programs for the Americas, which covers the United States, which is 99%, a little bit in Canada, a little bit in Latin America.
Okay, nice to meet you.
Nice
to talk
meet you.
about this. So, could you tell me in as much detail as possible what job duties you have, specifically like what management or supervisory duties?
Yeah, so I am responsible for a team, a small but mighty team of 4 people. I make 5.
Okay.
And we handle all the planning, design, and administration of all the benefit plans. And when I say benefit plans, it's the core ones. It's medical insurance, health insurance, dental, vision, life insurance, disability. The list goes on what you would think is an employee benefit. However, we also have fun things like, well, not that much fun, but the health center or gyms, or we offer for parental care, we offer something called the SNU, which is like a baby basket that when people have a child for parental leave, we give them that. We have Weight Watchers, we have on-site massage chair room. I mean, we have all of that stuff that the logistics falls under my group of people.
Is that all in your office? Like that's all just the Deutsche Bank, or is it?
It's only for Deutsche Bank employees, but it's for the employees over the entire country. So most people are in New York or in Florida, but we have a big population in California, Massachusetts, and North Carolina.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah, so you have a wide range of people and a wide range of subject matters. So I have the 4 people that I have, 2 of them, 2 senior people, one's responsible for health and insurance and disability, and the other one is responsible for all like the pension plan and the 401k plan. It's any stock option type plans that we have. So he's responsible for those, and then the person who works for me, she's responsible for the health and leave programs.
It's really interesting. So you have a really tight hand in, well, every employee's kind of what they want out of their job.
Yeah, sometimes when you go through the list of people, we have 8,000, so there's 8,000 people in the US. So that's the core, that's what we'll focus on here. So, but the names start being familiar because they call, for pure transparency, we do get some help. So we do have big vendors that actually do the day-to-day crunching and the record keeping and all of that. So we have 2 companies, one that does the 401k and one that does health and insurance, and then they're responsible for like open enrollment when you change, like if you wanted to enroll in the Blue Cross plan, you would go to them. We set up the Blue Cross plan, but then they take it from there. They'll communicate, they set up a website where employees can then go online and make the changes.
It's really cool. So you have to talk to a lot of different people all the time. Is it through email? Is it through phone calls? Like how important is communication? How you do it?
Communication is probably the most important thing with probably any job in any level. We used to do mostly in-person or conference calls, and that was before the pandemic started. And now everything pretty much is through Teams or Zoom. Mm-hmm. So even people in our office that we talk to, nobody, which is not a good thing, seems to get up and meet in a room anymore. They just video the person. So I make my people put their camera on because we're also working remotely. So we'll get to the challenges of my job, but one of the challenges is that the 4 people that work for me, they work in Florida, and I'm the only one up here.
So would you prefer to not use conference calls and go back to kind of where you have to congregate in one room to have a meeting? Or
no, not 100% of the time. So I think some in-person meetings are better because people do focus, because I do believe everybody is multitasking when you're on the phone with them, including me, because they can't see what you're typing along the way, and they're talking, and if it doesn't really involve me, I may look at emails. And I know they're doing the same thing. And it's my staff is one thing, but you're always on calls and they say, oh, I must be on mute. You know what? It's 4 years later. You're not on mute. You may be on mute some of the time, but you kind of know that. But people, they're not listening. So I think some of the meetings, I think it needs a good mixture. I don't think we'll ever go back 5 days a week. I don't think you need to. People like the flexibility. They like to be home for their kids when the kids come home from school. They like to take the kids to Little League or whatever they're doing. And I think this process of being more flexible makes people more loyal to the company. So I think some meetings are good in person, but some of them are just fine on Teams.
Fair enough. So what led you to getting to where you are today, to your job and the position you have?
And my degree is in just benefits administration. I wasn't exactly sure if I wanted accounting or something else. And I decided as I was graduating, accounting wasn't for me. I was going to look at numbers. And I started with Merrill Lynch, and it was more of a customer service on their banking account. And I worked there for about 1.5 years, and I wanted HR because that was really what I kind of wanted, but I didn't know how to do it. I wanted more of recruiting, but I was little, stuck up at that point. And they said, oh, you can start with recruiting, but we're going to make you an admin. And I said, I don't want to be an admin. I said I wanted to be a recruiter. And they're like, well, you got an admin. And I'm like, no, what else do you have? This is all while I was working for Merrill in their recruiting office. And they said, well, how about benefits? And I said, well, what does benefits do? And they said, oh, you'll like it. Just go talk to them. They do the health plans. They do the pension plans. Just talk to them. It's in New York. You said this was in New Jersey. I was originally. It'll be good. So I went in and I talked to them, and they actually offered me 2 jobs, one on the pension side and one on the health side. And I really couldn't decide which one to take. I mean, on the one hand, the health side said, oh, my parents wanted me to be a doctor. This is close enough. And then on the other hand, I said, well, the retirement stuff is more numbers. It could be better. And I decided to go with the retirement first because I figured that was more difficult. And then once I mastered that, I can move over. And I did. And then I did the retirement, then I did the 401k, then I did health and welfare and disability. And it kind of, over the many, many, many years, because I'm not that young, it all kind of melded for me. And that's sort of how, I've had people report to me in my young, early career. Then I became independent and I kind of worked, on my own project work, and then went back to working with people. Working with people, much more difficult.
Mm-hmm.
Better, but much more difficult.
What kind of decisions do you make in your job? Like, how do you go about making decisions?
So the decisions we make are what programs we offer to the employees and how much the employee pays and how much the bank pays. Okay? So, employees, health insurance, for example, is very expensive. Mm-hmm. Do we offer one plan? Do you offer multiple plans? Does Deutsche Bank pay 50% of it, 80%? Like, how do we pick that? So that's like the biggest decisions. And then you want to make the bank happy because they don't want to pay that much. They have to keep their budget under control of all the employees. You don't want them to complain that every year costs go up.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically do a lot of benchmarking. You make sure that what's happening at the bank here is happening in other similar situated banks. Like, we have a roundtable benchmarking group that we talk. We don't talk in details. We're not allowed to tell them anything that didn't happen, but like, I know how Chase's bank is, JP Morgan Chase is set up, or Goldman Sachs. We have contacts, and we kind of sort of review some of our options so we know whether or not you're in, how you rank among them. And we also do surveys. And when you do the surveys, you find out, usually blinded, but you find out what other people are doing, and you kind of mold your decision around that.
So are you trying to figure out which banks work best with which plans and which employees should have what to do?
No, we're trying to figure out what type of plans we should be offering so we can hire the most, so people would be able to retain and recruit people.
Okay.
And they keep the ones we have happy, but we want to retain them. So we don't want to say Deutsche Bank is, going to pay 20% of your medical cost when you went over to bank number 2 and they pay 80%.
Okay.
Because then who would want, this is a very simple approach, why would they want to work here? So the question is, what can we put in to keep the budget in balance while competing with our competitors?
All right, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so it's a fine, that's probably the how we make it is you kind of look at it. We also look year over year, like if an employee was paying, medical went up 15%, that's a big chunk to move to have someone pay 15% more next year. So we also try to see what we can do. Can we raise deductibles? Can we cut coverage? Can we increase, preventive care and that? So there's a lot of things that you play with, and we come up with a proposal. My team comes up with the proposal, and then we present it to senior management, and that group of people have to say, yeah, we're okay with that, but they rely on what we come to them with. So we'll come to them with a proposal. They may say, well, can you cut it down 1 or 2 percentages? And then we go back and we play with the numbers and we do that. But
okay, so it's a big balancing.
It's a big balancing. It's communicating, making sure everyone understands. We work with consultants. They go out to find us. So here's Blue Cross or Cigna or the 401k. We contribute 3%. Or everybody else is doing 4%. What do we want to do?
All right, it's really interesting. It sounds tough because it's a big balancing act. You have to satisfy a lot of different things all at the same time.
Yeah, I love benefits because I tell people coming in that's entering into the career wise.
Mm-hmm.
Benefits is HR, so you have a little bit of HR in there. That's the hiring, the firing, and the performance of people and so forth, or what they call human capital. And then it's also very legal. So all the benefit plans are under what they call ERISA, and that means it's a government agency that kind of regulates what we can and cannot do.
Okay.
Not the type of plan, but like how often you have to communicate to people. You have to do an audit once a year and so forth. That does that, but it also has legal, finance, customer service. We speak to people all the time, and we hear their concerns. Some of them are sad. They'll call that their kid's really sick, and the insurance company won't cover their prescription. We have to deal with that to see if that's the right answer, if they went through right channels and so forth.
So, what advice would you give to me or someone else who's trying to enter into your field?
I would say, be open to try anything. Don't think that anything is under you. Like if someone asks you to stuff envelopes, stuff them.
Okay.
I mean, we've had, the reason why I'm saying that is because we've had that, and there's been issues that they said, oh, you can't give the interns or the grads, that's beneath them. And I'm like, well, we have 500 envelopes that have to go out that we didn't know how to go out. So I can stuff them, or we can all stuff them, but so you have to be willing, you have to ask for help, we can ask for help, but ask somebody if you're not doing anything, is there anything else that I can do? If you think of a better way of doing it, because life's not perfect, let your manager know or your supervisor know that, hey, we can do this easier, can we look at it this way? Once you've mastered one thing, like the 80%, like 75 to 80%, look what's next. So like in my end, if you did the pensions and retirement, you did that for a little while and you learned how to do it. Now, let's say I want to get involved on the leave of absences, or I want to get involved in the, health and medical plans. Get involved, do anything you can, and be open to if positions open, even though it may not sound perfect, just try it. You can always come back, or you could just expand your knowledge. You have to be open, you have to communicate with what you want without being annoying, because I have one person who really wants to be promoted to a director, and he just talks about it all the time, and honestly, I don't like talking to him anymore because it's, it's not going to happen right now. So to quit mentioning it. So I would just say, be open to anything. Look at ways to do things better, and always be willing to help.
That's good way to think.
In any job, it doesn't have to be HR. It's anything.
It's reassuring to think like that, though, because then it opens the doors in your head, because you don't have to think so rigid about how your job works. You can just be, I guess, you just go with the flow.
It's good to be the smartest person in the room, but you don't have to be the smartest person in the room. So go for the job, the stretch job that you may not know yet, and just put the time in. Nothing comes for free, nothing comes easy. It's probably, you're not going to get it, but if they see that you're interested in it, you're going to work to get there. And there's work balance. I'm not saying, do it 120%, but give it its all and let your employer know that you do really care.
Okay, that's good.
Even if you don't.
If you don't.
Even if you don't act that way.
I'll keep that in mind, thank you. So what kind of people do you like to work with? You mentioned your coworker who's a little annoying.
I like to work with people that are easygoing, people who are willing to jump in and do things, whether it's below them or above them. I like people with the same working mentality of, as you know, it's like, hey, some people come in and say, I'm gonna get my job done and I'm done. Other people are always looking what else they can do. I also like smart people. So like we deal with a lot of vendors. Like my favorite one at work is an actuary. I think he's probably, he works for another company, but I think he's the smartest person that I ever know. And he has the personality, he has a good personality, and he's really smart. We went to a rodeo once, which is, they used to do that more in the good old days, but we were at a vendor. We went to a rodeo in Texas, and he was really quiet. And I looked over like, what are you doing? He figured out how to score the rodeo. I couldn't care less. I watched them, knock them off the horse or whatever happened there. But he would figure that out. But he has a personality, and we just became friends over the years. And I just like to work with people that are willing to help you. Yes, he's being paid to help us, but some of them don't call you back as fast. He's very attentive, so you have to be attentive to your client's needs also. Same thing that we have to be attentive to our employees' needs, because the employees are our customers. So he has to be, people have to be attentive to who you're working with.
That's good advice.
Project.
So how do you figure out what you should delegate to certain people? Like, how do you know what person might be the best at, I don't know, dealing with a certain subject or
Yeah,
problem?
that's probably my biggest problem is you don't. So I'm more of a hands-on person, which is good, and I think that's why my management skills are good. And people like working for me because I'll roll up my sleeves and we'll all work on the project together, where other people don't do that. They just hand them off and say, hey, let me know if something goes right or wrong. So, if you don't delegate, you get bogged down. So all those varied projects, if I wasn't able to delegate some of those out, I would get stuck with everything. Because no one's, some people will take things from you, but they kind of like it when you give things to them sometimes, because they take things as a stretch job. Right now, in the last 2 years, I've really been trying to gear my people up, 2 of them, to be able to eventually take my job.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been tough because I would just do it. If something came through, I would just, now I have to send it to them and say, can you answer this? When it's gonna take twice as long, because I could have, by the time I sent them the question, I could have answered the participant. But you gotta grow your people. You gotta work on them, teach them how to handle that. And so patience and keep delegating, but teach them.
Okay, that's really cool. I was always curious about that. Anyway, thank you for.
That's it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, ready for a job?
Yes, hopefully. I'd
you
like
will.
to have one day. I need money.
Great.
But thank you very much for letting me interview you and everything. This was actually very interesting. I need to learn how to communicate better.
All right.
I need to learn how to communicate like you.
Great.
You're good at it. You know how to delegate stuff. I could never imagine that. I don't know how. I'm not that great at teamwork sometimes.
Well, teamwork
working
teamwork is number one. You have to be able to work as a team, but still come out as a leader.
Mm-hmm. That's
the tough
coming
part.
out
But that
as a
comes
leader.
with practice. That comes with just doing it and understanding and wanting to do it.
All
If you
right.
go into work every day and you don't want to do it, then it's not going to be good.
Fair enough. That's a good way to think. All right.
Great.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.